I want to talk about the important things you need to remember when running your Fiverr business. This includes cancellations, how to handle cancellations, what are going to be affecting your rate, what is not going to be affecting your rate. I'm sure this video is going to be helpful because I just want to, again, to share from my experience. I'm not affiliated with Fiverr. This is not video is not sponsored or paid by Fiverr, but I just wanted to share my own opinion, my own progress as well, and the feedback that I'm kind of like getting being on Fiverr. So first of all is the cancellations. So what basically the cancellation rate, all the rates are important, right? You have the delivered on time, you have the order completion, you have the inbox rate, now you have the order messages as well, the rate which you have to keep track, right? So the cancellations is a tricky one, right? Because obviously when you go and use the resolution center and both parties agree to cancel, your rate is going to be affected, right? So that's of course is a pretty big one. But you have to understand when, and that's also Fiverr saying, many people just don't maybe realize that when you have a client, a buyer who has purchased your service, right? And then let's say they have ordered by mistake, they change their mind, they don't want to use your service anymore, right? And you haven't really started. You can pretty much go and cancel through Resolution Center. Once they accept it, the order is canceled. What you can do is that you can go and open a support ticket. And in that support ticket, you can actually say like, hey Fiverr customer support, I just want to double check if there is possibility to not count this order towards the cancellation rate since the buyer has ordered by mistake, right? So if the cancellation is happening by the buyer's fault, maybe they have changed their mind, they ordered by mistake, or if it's happening, let's say by certain circumstances, right, where it's not related to you, it's not related to your work, but something happened, let's say, could be anything. Maybe something on the buyer side happened. Maybe let's say you have been using some sort of platform and that platform doesn't exist anymore, right? So it's not your fault. It's basically happened, right? So when those cancellations happening, you can also cancel the order through Resolution Center, and then you can just file a support ticket with this order number and explain that there's been a cancellation, but it has not been due to my work since there has been other things that has been happening, right? So in cases that I can remember, there was one case where the buyer was kind of like abusing the account on TikTok, right? And then eventually the account got shut down, right? So, but the buyer has been using different promotion methods, and then we had a promotion going on as well. And there was a violation on the content as well. So eventually the account got shut down, right? So I wasn't able to continue working on their account. So then we agreed to cancel. The buyer was happy, of course, to cancel because we couldn't really do anything, right? And potentially he will start a new account. We can resume the promotion, but for now it's best to cancel. So we did the cancellation, then I went and submitted a ticket in the support, and they were able to help me, and they didn't count towards my cancellation rate. So you have to understand that this is important, that whenever this happens, you can obviously do through Resolution Center, and then even once it's canceled, after that you can just send it to the Fiverr support and they will be able to help you with that. But if your cancellation is because the client is not happy, the client is just not happy with the outcome, with the result, then it's a pretty tricky one, and most likely you're going to be affected by your rate as well. So just be careful about that. Other things that are very important to remember when you deliver an order, right? So when you deliver an order, I see it's a very common practice. A lot of sellers wants to have a good feedback, right? So you can't really ask for feedback, say like, hey, please rate my 5-star my gig. You can't really say that order. But what other people do, they try to provide, here's a strategy for you, here's a guide, here's another bonus, here's another bonus, right? So they're trying to give as many bonuses as possible so the buyer could be like, wow, this is amazing, thank you so much, right? So they're trying to really, you know, kind of like provide as much value as possible. And honestly, I'm totally fine. I think it's good to give more. I think it's you know, definitely positive. But what I have seen people do sometimes, they just try to give them access to their certain digital products where they're asking their email address, their name as well, which is a big against the terms of policies of Fiverr. And I have seen sellers who are successful sellers, top-rated sellers, they are doing things. I don't want to mention any names, but I just want to warn you because it's definitely a bad way to do it. And especially, you know, I usually don't really, I'm not that type of person who is going to like, you know, go and just, you know, report or start to like blame someone, right? I feel like with the time, that person, if he's making mistake, he's gonna get penalized, like he's gonna get in trouble, right? But I think it's important to understand, because when you're selling your service on Fiverr, and I made some mistakes myself at the very beginning, because I was not familiar with many things. But then once I kind of like saw that you're not able to do, so that's why you have to read terms of service straight away if you're just getting started, so you can understand. Because especially when you're just at the beginning, you know, you have to build also like your profile, your reputation. So in most cases, you know, it's going to be challenging in the beginning, you know, because Fiverr is getting stricter than it was before, right? So they're trying to get stricter on the gigs, they're trying to get stricter on the seller requirements as well, the other things, the withdrawals, the country location and everything, right? So you have to make yourself through, right? You have to make your own way. And going back to deliveries, you know, you have to understand that it's definitely not a good practice to share, even if it's for free, like to share them any free stuff, digital products, ebooks for free in exchange for their email address. This is probably the worst thing you can do. Of course, I understand Fiverr, they're not able to control every single delivery. Of course, they might not see that, right? But when they see that, when that happens, it just might turn your profile to a nightmare, to being a seller on Fiverr. And I've seen sellers who their accounts have been shut down forever, and they have been doing the mistakes like that. And yeah, of course they regret it, because, you know, the entire business got shut down. But I just want to warn you, so that it's best to, if you're on Fiverr, you're getting orders there, it's good to respect the platform and just kind of like give back in a way you can, and just respect their rules. Because when you're trying to push people out from Fiverr outside and then, you know, do other things with them, is definitely not a good practice, and you can definitely get in trouble. Because if you think that way, when you're ranking higher and when you have like more views, more orders completed, right, when your gig is just getting more of those movements, your gig is going to be ranking higher. And once the gig is ranking higher, you're going to be getting clients on autopilot. It's going to be hard to do that the same outside. You have to be running ads, you have to have a funnel, you have to just kind of like, you know, build that system. But on Fiverr, you just have to focus on outstanding work, and then you're going to be rewarded in the long term, because the gig is going to be getting higher, ranked higher and higher and higher, right? But just guys, be careful please with the deliveries, be careful with leading people, be careful with sending them, because when you manage their social media account, let's say, you can ask for username, password, like email, because you need that information to log into the account, right? This is needed. But when you do something where you give them the bonus, but you push them to external website, to your website, you know, you have to be very careful with that. And when you include your website as well in the inbox as a portfolio, it's good to always check. That's what I did. That's what I did with my website. I sent it to Fiverr. I checked if they can approve it, because it has no really direction links to any forms or email addresses, and they were able to approve it, right? So that's why it's very important to stay with that, to remember about that. This is most common issues and mistakes that sellers make, and it's just crazy to see when you have like a seller who is like at the very top doing these mistakes. Yes, sooner or later, but you know, you could get in trouble, and that's going to be a nightmare for you. So please let me know if you have any questions. I think this will be useful, because new sellers, existing sellers, if you have any questions, just write them in the comments. I would just want to hear, like, maybe you want to ask something, and double check with me, with the community, if you're able to do this or not. That's very good as well. Share your thoughts too if you have made mistakes in the past. That'll be awesome to hear as well. Thank you so much, and see you in the next video.